I'd like to call the Pre-K Eagle Academy Pre-Ref Building Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, May 20th, 6 o'clock-ish. May we have a roll call, please?
Randy Dangle.
Here.
Tina LeBlanc.
Here.
Christine DeBoni.
Here.
Lauren Andrews.
Here.
Tina Sakala. Bob Casati.
Here.
Janet Cushman. John Day.
Here.
Kate Flanagan. Danielle Gerard. Dean Gauss. Kelsey McGuire Bruce. Steve Macchio.
Here.
Amanda Pickett. Marie Pisner. Charlotte Riley. Scott Ryder. Jacqueline Valley.
Here.
Jeff Wyszynski. Justin Hopkins. Antonio Ciavarella.
Just for the record, the Board of Ed folks. Just for the record, the Board of Ed folks are working on the superintendent's evaluation, so that's why the Board of Ed folks aren't here.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to review the regular meeting minutes dated April 29th, 2026? And if so, are there any comments or corrections? If not, can somebody please make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Show of hands, all in favor? And be against and be abstain. Thank you, unanimous. We're going to move, we're going to move right into the architect's presentation. It's going to give us an update on where we are and where we've been and where we're going. So I'd like to turn it over. If you'd like to come up to the table. Oh, yeah. You going to make a motion to have John now? Yeah. Okay, why don't you?
Can I make a motion to move item B, special legislation text and process, up to before the OGA grant application activities?
So moved.
Any discussion? Show of hand, all in favor? Anybody against? And be abstain. Thank you. Excuse me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Wyszynski, principal at Tucktown Architects. In your packet, we have the agenda. We're going to move my comments our comments that we had related to the special legislation text on the third page up. Just so everybody's aware, the last 2 pages of the packet have the text related to the special legislation. I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody, John. I don't know if you want to give a summary of that process or.
I can.
Sure.
Sure. That chair's way more comfortable anyway. Hi, good evening. So the text of the legislation, the waivers that you asked for were approved and in the school construction bill, which is what you see here at the end of your packet, for 2 of the 5 schools. So one of the problems with approving all 5 of them this year is that we were asking for $500 million for 5 schools, and the total ask across the state from all the other cities and towns that are doing school construction is about $2 billion. That is in excess of what normally the bonding commission appropriates for school construction. So, and we were taking up 25% of it for the state. That was just a little too much. And our projects are not as imminent as some of the other districts that are beginning school construction. That being said, there is no need to be concerned that the reimbursements rates are going to change. In fact, at one point during this process, I was being asked, why are you putting this in the construction bill? Because the reimbursements are statute. They're in the law, and the law is not going to change. There were some things that were related to the timing issue, related to the housing bill, because the housing bill 5% increase happens on July 1st of this year. We are putting in our application on June 30th, and so we didn't want to miss the opportunity to get that additional 5% by one day. That waiver is in here for Prudence Crandall and for Hazardville Memorial. And there's no reason to expect that we wouldn't get that same waiver in the future. So with regard to space waivers, the legislature does not have to take affirmative action to grant a school district space waivers. Now the DAS commissioner is able to grant space waivers. So we have an administrative route first, and if we are not granted what we need that way, then we would be able to take a legislative action. So I am not at all concerned that there were only 2 schools included in this budget bill. The implications are more for the question, I believe, and the way the referendum question is written, which we would have to discuss with bond counsel on whether or not that changes anything or not, because it might, at the time of the referendum, it may require a different disclosure in the confirmed amount of the reimbursement, because only 2 have been gone through the process. But it's going to be minor because the statute covers the bulk of what we're expecting to get reimbursed. The housing bill is a 5% increment. That might be part of the difference, and we wouldn't know right now what the total space waivers are because they haven't been granted for the other 3 schools. But the recourse, so the disclosure to voters might be a different range, anticipated range of reimbursement. But again, I think that is a question for our bond counsel, who also happens to be the Speaker of the House. So that's incredibly convenient. Do you have any questions?
I do. Can I ask a question? All right, so do we have to put forward another referendum for next year for the next 3 schools? No?
No.
Okay.
So, okay.
Sorry if I asked.
No. I just want to make sure I'm answering questions to the best of my knowledge. I'm not, as you all know, I'm not a lawyer. So
No, and
I
that's
understand this.
fine. Yeah.
I believe that I fully understand this.
Okay.
But it is one referendum question.
Gotcha.
It's not going to change. The only thing that may change is how we disclose where we are with
Gotcha.
the total reimbursement as of November 1st or November whatever of this year. That would be a range of a high or low, right? An anticipated reimbursement from this to this. And I think that is what might need to change.
Sure. Okay.
There is nothing happening in the legislature to make me or anybody else believe that the law is going to change on the reimbursement rates that are already in place. I mean, the governor is completely committed to education on multiple levels. We can't anticipate that he would suddenly pull back on bonding requests for new school construction.
Great.
So what we're going to have to collectively come up with is the actual wording for the referendum, because, as John was saying, we have two that are in place, locked at the specific dollar amount and specific reimbursement amount. To have one referendum, we're also going to have a caveat question saying, by voting this in, we are going to lock in the such and such for within these rates. And we're going to have to explain it to the public on what we're doing and why we have to do that, because, again, we're not locked in. We're more than likely to get the reimbursement that we're looking for, but we can't put that on the referendum because that's not a fact. So what he was saying is, like, we can give a percentage that we should be able to receive the same amount as we did. We just really got to figure out how to word it and really educate the public on this. And that's why I was saying we really need to get this pack up and moving. So
let me also say, the two schools that were approved to jump the priority list, so if you look at the language that is in front of you, the first paragraph, so if you start at section 414, that first paragraph is us jumping into the 2025 priority list. Okay. Okay. We are not starting construction until 2027. So we are on a priority list 1 year early for the two schools that we started with. So just understand that, which means we were given this, and potentially, I don't know that this is the case, but we were put on a priority list much earlier than we needed to be.
Is that specifically because of how the schools are, the condition of them? Because those two seem to be some of the
so-
not so great ones.
No, I think that is because we were banging our fists on the table saying we need to be on the priority list, and we got on the priority list. And that's what happened. And then, as it turns out, because of the timing of our applications and our referendum, we are a little bit earlier. So again, I want to be absolutely clear to anybody who's watching this and trying to get sound bites from this. We are very confident that the reimbursement amounts that you have presented to the public will be the amounts that will be reimbursed when this is all done. Okay? Nothing has changed on that front. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
okay, so now we're going to go back up to the top.
Excuse me. Thank you, John, for that. That was very helpful to explain. So that information's in the back of the packet. There's a couple clarifying questions that the superintendent plans to ask over the next several days related to reimbursement. One of them, just to round out the conversation on the reimbursement, one of them is the 15% for the specialized education that's within the facility itself. That is written a little bit differently than the early childhood. Like the early childhood, remember, applies to the entire building. Special ed is just to the space assigned. The clarifying questions that we hope to get answered are, how do you measure that space? Do you include the corridor associated with it? Like to what extent, where do we measure from? The reason why that is important is because when we were presenting to the community since day one with these reimbursement rates, we took the base reimbursement plus the 15% for the pre-K or the ECC, less ineligibles, and that's what we were using. We didn't necessarily add that calculation for the specialized ed allocation, so that should help with that range going up. And then the other piece is, just to be clear, any of the information that we had shared to the community did not include that extra 5% for the housing either. So, those just are clarifying comments. We'll make sure that we articulate those clearly, but we need more information from the state on how to measure it in order to calculate the effective reimbursement rate. So just to round out that conversation, I think, does everybody have a copy? I don't know, did it? Okay, great. Okay, so we'll jump back to the beginning of the agenda, if that's okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we've shifted a little bit from the, I guess, from the more graphically pleasing presentations that we have been producing over the last year to the technical side, which is the grant application. We're laser focused on that. Had really good conversations. The school department, John Daig in particular, has set up all of the electronic grants with the superintendent's coordination. So a lot of the information is populated in the electronic system already. Percentages 70, 80, 85%. So we're well on our way. But if you look under 1A in the agenda, under one of the components, if you remember, is the Phase 1 ESA. So those are now completed. We have all of the reports. Those reports have been transferred over to the schools for uploading into the electronic grant application. We'll provide a summary. We weren't going to do it tonight, but we'll provide a summary of those findings. I will say nothing out of the ordinary from a Phase 1. There's some recommendations on, paperwork for closure of previously removed. So Phase 1s are site environmental, just as a reminder. So they're looking for some paperwork just on making sure that tanks were removed properly and closure paperwork. So nothing out of the ordinary of concern, which is a positive for the grant application. So that Phase 1 ESA ties to what's called the 053, which is a site analysis form. So that form, I think we've included just some examples of the forms. We don't expect you to review them or comment on them, but we included what an 053 looks like, the checklist. So we've populated all the specifics to each of the projects for all 5 projects, downloaded in all the maps. So there's probably about 8 or so, in some instances, 8 to 10 maps that accompany that specific to each of the sites. So all of that has been completed, PDF'd and uploaded. So we're in good shape with that checklist item. Before I move away from the site checklist items and the application, is there any questions on site that I can answer? It's pretty straightforward, no real surprises, and good shape is the way that I would summarize that. Okay, so ed specs, we already went through the Board of Ed approvals. All of that has been documented, uploaded. Thank you, John. Approved minutes, the actual ed specs, everything's been posted there. If you flip to page 2, we're now moving into, they're called Uniformat Level 2 estimates. As I mentioned at the last meeting, coordinating with Gilbane on those. They're in progress. The expectation is over the next week and a half is to get the finalized numbers. There's a lot of numbers to tie out between the soft and hard costs. There's, in a form, in an estimate like the state is requiring, there's probably about 150 line items that we just need to make sure that they all tie out. So that's the work that's ongoing with them. We're working with Chris as well to make sure the allocations are validated. And then we'll upload those to, it's called the PSCCD. The state has a website that we upload those costs to. So I would put that category in work in progress. We still need to work on it. The expectation is that we'll complete it over the next week and a half. All of the other approvals related to the resolutions, all of those have been captured, PDF'd, including the meeting minutes, and posted. So all of that is on the website. So that one's pretty much complete. We had a meeting today Tecton and Enfield Public Schools related to the grant application, screen shared, talked about the referendum, so we know the referendum is in November. So we populated that section of the application to satisfy the state grant application. So that one won't be, it'll be completed in the grant application, but once the referendum occurs, you basically have till November 15th, presuming that it passes, to submit the recorded certified results. So in order for a complete application. So that one will stay open until then. We already went over the special legislation, so we don't have to touch on that orange section of the lower part of page 2. Gosh, there's a lot of, so 2C II is the explanation of the special education. And then in the lighter orange, that's not bolded, there's a series of questions that the superintendent will ask for clarification. So they're very real because they're material to the reimbursement rate. So is it the net area of the room or is it the gross area? If there's a special ed office that's dedicated to this particular program, does that include it as well? So we just want to make sure we're capturing it the way that the state is expecting to see it, and also make sure we're capturing it so that we can maximize reimbursement back to your community. So those will be TBD. The superintendent will submit those on the project's behalf for clarification. So there's two main components that are left open, that I'll say largely left open: estimates, and then there's another form called the SCG 2500, which is basically just the program document. It's already in the ed spec. It's just taking all the number of spaces and the size of spaces and putting them into their form. I've included a blank form in your handout so you can just see. So if you see a circulation, see if a document circulated like this, that's what that form is. So again, no need for you folks to review and comment on it. It's just I wanted you to have it for record. And of course, we're any material that we're documenting for the grant application, we're sending via a Dropbox to the schools. And once we're finished, we'll obviously document all of it and give it to the community so they have, should there be any questions along the way. What else can I tell you? So those are the two main focus areas for us that we'll work on over the next couple of weeks. We're having Friday afternoons, we're going to have weekly meetings with the schools just to screen share, make sure we're populating. Our goal would not be to wait until June, even though some of the 2 out of the 5s give a different date for submission. Our goal is to mid-June be pretty much ready to press the button to submit the grant application. There are some more detailed applications. The one unique project, or they're all unique, but the unique aspect of the Eagle Academy at Eli Whitney is that it's a renovate as new, and that comes with a list of forms you probably are familiar with from, I guess, JFK. So we'll work on those. Most of those Tecton will create, publish, and then they just need to be authorized by the superintendent. So again, our goal, I know we're getting close to the end of May, but our goal is over the next 2-3 weeks here to be 99.9% complete. There's some technical questions we have related to the grant application, but that's something that we can work on offline as far as electronically if they need it in a different zone. So so in summary, making very good progress. I've included some of it in this document. And then the 3 main components that we're working on is the program document, estimates, and that renovate as new checklist. So If I wasn't sure if Scott was going to be able to make it, we have a couple different sections on our agenda. We'll skip over the legislation text process. If there's any desire or need to update anything, I don't know from a town side if anything's changed financially, but our numbers haven't changed, so if there's any updates that need to be done for tax impact, just let us know. But our numbers are the same numbers that we've been presenting all along. The last section I have is the community engagement materials, and happy to provide the graphics related to those if and when, or whomever needs them. So I can park it there and answer any questions.
Yeah, so that actually goes right into, I met with the PAC rep today, and we just have a couple questions for Tecton, and I do have an update about the PAC as well. But we'll start with the Tecton questions. Like you said, there is material, the materials you have, we are able to use, like slides from, a presentation or anything that so that's something that we're able to be given?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll only say if certainly coordinate through our office. Antonia can help as well. We have a graphics marketing group that can help. If you want a particular slide, we just want to make sure it's at a resolution that it's good for you. So yeah, absolutely. Any of the materials you can use.
So the head of the PAC should be dealing directly with Antonia, or?
Well, they can't.
Okay,
No, they still have to come through us.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Okay, so are there any, like, he was asking about the coloring activity book specifically. Is that something that we can still use? Do you guys have any of those left?
That's
It doesn't need to be today, but.
we have the electronic file. I
Oh,
don't know
perfect.
if we
That's all.
have copies. We did publish quite a few early on, but I think a lot of them were actually utilized. But we will check. We also have the ability, we have the graphics and the capability to send that right out and get it efficiently if that's a need that you'd like to.
And the PAC leads want to have a meeting, not during a pre-ref meeting, to go over some questions. How do we make that happen? So
Everything through us.
well, so do we just have to be there? How many people have to be there? Like, do we have to get?
Oh, no, we don't need a quorum or anything, but the contract is with this committee.
Right.
So
So if me and you
anything
go-
that they want to do with them has to come through us.
Okay.
And then we can set it up, and then we could be there. We don't need a quorum.
Okay.
We probably don't want a quorum.
No.
Because then we have to make minutes and everything else. So if one or two of us, we have PAC representative liaisons, could be there. I would definitely like to be a part of it, but again, just for information only. But everything has to come through
Great.
us, and then we.
So I'll
funnel it
have
to-
them email us, and then we'll set up a meeting with Tecton. Okay, perfect. And the last question that he had, do we have final tax impact numbers? Are those ones that John Wilcox did final numbers? Anybody know?
Those numbers were presented and
Okay.
were the correct numbers.
Okay, just wanted to double check and make sure of that.
Thank you.
And while I'm at it, I'll give an update on the PAC. Last meeting, I was asked to just kind of see where it was at. So it is up and running. The official name is the Enfield Planning Tomorrow's Opportunities Political Action Committee. They can take, for anybody that's watching, they can take contributions by check payable to EPTO PAC and mailed to P.O. Box 478 in Enfield, Connecticut, 06083. Digital donations, credit cards, that should be up soon. That's not something that they can do right at this moment. And then for anybody that does want to join that is watching, the PAC was filed as in support of this question. So anybody that does want to join the PAC, they have to know that it's a vote yes PAC as opposed to the opposite. So, and that's all I have. Is there anything else that anybody else has about the PAC?
Anybody? All right. Very good. So, other than what Tecton just went over as far as where we are and where we're going, the focus from here is finalizing the grant application and stuff like that, which is very minor in comparison to what we've been through to get to this point. So we really have to support the PAC and start getting it out there as far as notifying the public. And we really need to educate the PAC on just about every question we've been asked so far by the public. So we're all in the same boat, answering the same questions. I don't want anybody going off just because they're for it, start making stuff up to convince people to do it. So we are fact-based. We have backup. We have references. We can tap our, if we need any flyers, files, posters, and stuff like that. But there is a fine line using the contract money for the PAC, and that's why the PAC has to have their own funds. So there may be some reimbursement, or we can have an account at Minute Printers or whoever to have posters and stuff done. So we can't just ask Tecton to print out 500 flyers, because that's not what his contract is for, and that would be a misuse of funding. So again, I'd like to be correspondent, if not directly asked anything that's going to go through from the PAC to this committee. I've been, I'm not going to say frustrated, but I have not had any contact, and I've emailed several times, I've texted several times, and I left voicemails, and I have not received anything, and you guys have all this information, so I appreciate it, but it's got to go through the right funnels to be productive. So thank you, though, very much. So does anybody have any other questions regarding where we are project-wise, what our next step is? Everybody's good? Yes.
Yeah, I just have one of the liaisons asked that they thought important information might be is the maintenance plans that are going to come along with the project. I don't know if this is a good time, or I could have asked it at a different time, but just some concerns in the community. If we vote for this, what's the upkeep of this school going to be, type of thing. So just having that kind of information as far as like what the maintenance plan is going to look like.
Now, one of the things we've done in the past, and we are allowed to do that, if we are having a meeting, say like at the senior center or PTO or something, we have invited the architect on record before to come. So that is something we can do. So it's just not us. It gives it more validity when it comes from the architects. So that's something we may want to utilize, and then that we can utilize the funding for that. All right. Guess we're at item number 4, scheduling the next meeting. So what would be a productive meeting?
We doing 3 weeks again? That would bring us to the 10th. How's everybody with the 10th?
That would be 4, 1, 2, 3
Or
weeks.
is that, yeah,
10th.
the 10th.
So why don't we tentatively say the 10th? If it's needed, we'll have it. If not, there'll be there'll be a message, email going out to everybody.
We should have bills to approve by then, no? I assume.
Should have what?
Bills to approve by then?
Yeah, well, yeah, speaking of bills, now you said that, I received an email from Becca today saying that all the bills are in her court and she'll have them ready for them this week.
I got Tecton their check today, so.
Oh, okay.
So, I came and picked it up.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
All right.
I got a guy.
Thank you
That's
for
awesome.
that. Just want to be on the record to say thank you.
Very good.
And Randy, hopefully on the 10th, the PAC can be here.
Not sure. Okay.
To start
All right.
giving more information out at that point in time, and the plans, and
Yeah, I mean.
where you can find things and QR codes and all that good stuff. So hopefully on the 10th that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, if it's needed, we absolutely will have the meeting, so. Let me go back here.
I do just have one quick question. Are we going to be having any more community conversations, or we're just gonna now rely on the PAC to disseminate all the information, factual information?
Yeah, I think at this point, there will be community, but it's not going to be drove by us. The PAC is going to dictate where and what, and we will assist the PAC in it. If we feel that there's another need, we definitely have funds available to have them come and do another public conversation. I guess once the PAC gets up and rolling, we're going to have to periodically evaluate where it is and is it being effective enough? Should we subsidize it with one of these? But yeah, I mean, it's not a hard no by no means. It's whatever's needed to get this thing out there and the information out there properly. So, possible. Great question, yeah. Okay. All right, so we're doing the 10th, June 10th. Anybody have any committee comments, liaisons, committee members, have anything they want to share, any good to the order or anything?
I just want to say thank you to Tecton because I've been on a lot of pre-ref committees and this has been the most seamless, and the updates are very thorough and you're completely on top of things with dates, and the things with the state and everything we've talked about is really coming through fruition, like the state waivers and different things like that. So to Tecton and Chris Cycli, I really appreciate all the work you're doing, and the momentum has never died. So I appreciate that.
I concur. I totally blown away. I mean, I've been doing this for most of my life, and this was one of the, and when I started, I said logistically wise, this is one of the hardest ones I've ever done, and they have done everything. I just contributed and just picked up the coattail, and we'll let them do what they did. They're experts at this, and the team is phenomenal. So I agree. It's just been one of the most impressive referendum procedures that I've ever experienced, and I've been through many. So
It's all Antonia. So.
we didn't want to say that, but. All right. If there's nothing anybody wants to say, go to the order or anything, can we make a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second. All in favor, show of hands. Everybody against, everybody abstain. Thank you, unanimous.